Welcome back to the Catastrophic Economist, where we discuss the economic and financial ramifications of non-financial events. I am your host, Breland. Thank you. Save your applause. You're too nice. Welcome back, you guys. This is going to be a long story. I'm going to try to make this as short as I possibly can, but there's so much going on right now. Before we embark on that, just a few things. This YouTube channel is new for me. I'm trying to make it as digestible as I can. I'm trying to work on giving you all the best product that I possibly can, audio, video, information wise. So you guys are going to see me do different things as we moving forward in the next couple weeks or so with the background, with my audio, with my video. So bear with me. I'm doing the best I can to produce something great for you guys to make things a little easier to digest. So, as you guys have seen from the thumbnail and the title, we are discussing the volcanoes slash earthquakes in Italy and in Greece. Greece, Santorini, and in Italy, Campi Flegrei. I got to say that with a the accent. Flegrei. I got to do it with the Italian Flegrei. I'm okay. Today I'm gonna butcher a lot of names. You guys are gonna see me butcher a lot of names going forward. But I'm doing the best I can. If I say something incorrectly, look it up. All right. None of the things I say on this channel are financial advice. So you idiots, go to a professional and somebody who knows your financial background and give you specific financial information, as you should. But we're gonna jump right into it. So look, you guys, I have been taking a chord and record of these different seismic events that have been taking place. I'm, not well versed in it. That's not my wheelhouse. Mostly the financial stuff is. But, I rely on seismologists, volcanologists, sometimes astrophysicists, meteorologists to give me this information. So I'm just trying to produce the best information that I can have on hand. A lot of it comes from those particular experts. Some of it comes from AI and straight Google. Okay. So, when it comes to the natural disasters themselves or the event themselves, I'm going to rely on people that I think that have good information and just regular old looking it up. So you guys feel free to look up, and if you find better information that I can provide, please put it below. Let me know so I can include that in my inputs and my calculations. So let's move forward, man. Let's get into it. Let me pull up some charts and let's get it. All right, so first off, let's take a look at this map. As you guys can see here, this is the real GDP growth of the globe. It's brought to you by the International Monetary Fund, our favorite friends. We'll talk about them quite a bit in this channel, I'm sure. But this is the world GDP. GDP, obviously, gross domestic product. It measures production across the world. We're going to bring this map up quite a bit. Really quickly, though, as you guys can see, central of the increased production are in Africa, South Asia, and so on and so forth. Our story focuses on Greece and Italy. Greece is doing about 2% increase year over year, and we got Italy at a 0.8. Everybody's chucking along, doing pretty well right now in the world. There are some issues in the UE specifically. They're having a little recessionary concerns. So is the United States. We're just going to focus on the EU today. But I can say, they're going through their own issues, energy crisis issues, financial crisis issues, debt issues, and so on and so forth. But the general baseline with Europe right now, they're on some rocks similar to the United States is, but they're pushing along in the matrix. Everybody's contributing, and but this is something we should keep an eye on. We're going to bring this map up quite a bit. This, my friends, is the seismic monitor across the world right now. So, excuse me. So there has obviously been an increase, like I've been saying on this channel since I started a couple weeks ago. There's been an increase in different natural disaster events outside of the political stuff and the technological advances with AI and blockchain that are causing disruptions. These events, these natural disasters are running amok and they are stirring up something crazy out there. All right. Specifically, when it comes to the seismic activities. All right. Volcanic issues are a big deal. It's something that we should keep an eye on moving forward. Specifically in the United States area, that's where most of the volcanoes are. The tectonic plates are also along the west coast over here, as you guys can see. And along the Mississippi River, there's another kind of issue in the United States, just a weak seismic area along the Mississippi River, up and down along New Madrid. But again, today we're going to focus on this area right here, the Euro area. There have been a lot of seismic activity, as you guys can see from this chart, in the world. These tectonic plates are moving plates. In case you guys didn't know, they move along hot magma molten rock underneath it. And on the top, we got a whole bunch of tectonic plate and rocks pushing and pulling against each other. And it's something very important. It's something very integral. It causes severe damage. It's not like a fire. A fire happens in a specific city. Fire happens, you burn down everything, you build, you can rebuild on top not long after, right? A volcano eruption destroys that place for years. Volcanic eruptions and tsunamis take the most lives, and they also create the most costly damage to any society, country, city. I'm not saying which one's better or worse. This isn't that type of place, but I will say there's a particular bad taste in my mouth when I see these seismic increases, these volcanic increases. And the story we have today is one of these areas. So let's dive in quickly to specifics of the situation that's going on right now in Santorini and Campi Flegrei. And it's kind of crazy. So, you guys, let's check it out. All right, so the two hot zones we're looking at again is Campi Flegrei, Italy, and Santorini, Greece. So you guys might have already heard of the stories on the news, um, and some of the stories obviously are correct. There are some earthquakes that are taking place up there, but some scientists also are pushing back at the possible cause of these seismic activities, these quakes. So the official story is a whole bunch of earthquakes are happening, pretty small when they're happening in these two locations. They're causing a little uproar, making life very uncomfortable for the people that are there, house to shake. Unfortunately, people have to live in these homes. A lot of people sleeping in their cars because of it. But the government official statement is saying that it's purely tectonic plate. It's nothing volcanic having to do with it, or the volcanic exposure is very minimal, and that's a low likely situation that any eruption is going to take place. But today we are going to look over quickly the ramifications of first the earthquakes that have already taken place, and we're just gonna brainstorm, just project a possible volcano issue that's occurring over these two places, because Camp Flegrei specifically is known for, it's a huge volcano. Both of them are. Both of them have large magma deposits right underneath the cities. For Santorini, is right offshore. But Campi Flegrei, they're literally on a giant volcano, So that's why I'm going to take into account. We're going to look at that. I think it's important to go over it. Greece, like I mentioned, it's right off the volcano is right off the shore, so it's in the water. So imagine if a volcano did erupt, right? So a volcano erupt in Santorini, the magma is pushing these rocks and the plates that are in the same area. This magma is forcing, the rocks to move around and it's forcing its way up. Imagine once that magma gets to the surface and connects with the water, is going to create an explosive event if that is the case. And it's going to escalate. It's going to be a catalyst to a lot of destruction, visually, very probably appalling, scary, all that. I'm glad I'm where I'm at. So my prayers go out to everybody in Italy and in Greece. But let's talk about Campi Flegrei in Italy. So Campi Flegrei is obviously in Italy. It's experienced notable seismic activity in this year, a lot. And when I mean a lot, since February 5th, it's created 36 events on record of magnitudes 3.1 and up. There's actually a hot zone that's worse than others, where the volcano is projected by scientists that could, be very devastating to the statesmen in that specific area, in that city. There was a swarm on February 17th comprised of almost 200 earthquakes. All right. So these quakes are happening in a large quantity in very seismic volcanic areas in frequencies that are abnormal. I mean, these two places have had earthquakes. Earthquakes are a regular thing they deal with because they're along fault zones already. But again, paying attention to the earthquakes are essential. Okay. So, these earthquakes that have already happened, they've caused a lot of structural damage, some economic disruptions, some migration outward just a little bit. On the scale of things, on our special scale that we have, our impact scale, it's a level 1. So pretty minimal impact economically is done to Greece, to Italy, excuse me, as a whole. GDP decline of maybe like 1%. Disruption, mostly the tourism area, which is popular in Europe, in Greece and Italy specifically. The recovery cost thus far just to the earthquakes will cause maybe 200 million euros in emergency management costs and recovery costs. Unemployment might rise 0.5%, and the external aid may be about 100 million euros with the government and with EU support, which, like I mentioned, are already, kind of, on the precipice of being into a financial issue, concern, crisis. Santorini is pretty similar. Santorini has had several earthquakes, just like Campi Flegrei. They since January 25th or from February 1st, depending on how you look at it, they've had literally 1,200 plus earthquakes from magnitude 1 to 5.2. The scale for magnitude goes all the way up to 8, 9, 10. I mean, obviously goes, the severe ones or the higher ones, but these are pretty high, pretty frequent earthquakes that are inflicting this area above normal. That's the important point I'm trying to make. It's above normal of the magnitudes, above normal of the frequency of them. They've happened quite a bit. So initially, reports, like I mentioned, the government suggests that it's earthquakes caused by tectonic plates movement, right? No big deal. Plates moving. Plates always been moving. All right, just like dinner in my house. Plates always moving around. I'm hungry. I need to eat. So the scientists, on the other hand, a lot of people in these two countries have been coming out and saying, hey, the government's off. The government doesn't want to be honest because, it's largely a tourist place. The government wants to keep a front up to keep tourists coming in because in these two places, tourism is a commodity. In Greece, tourism makes up, Santorini makes up 4% of the GDP from tourism. So that's important to understand and note going forward because it's very integral. About In Santorini, about 11,000 residents and tourists have already evacuated. Uh, the GDP is projected to decline about 4% in reduction. The recovery cost is about 500 million euros, could be. The unemployment rate is projected to increase by 2%. The external aid could be from 200 million euros projected. And again, minimal destruction caused by the hurricanes that have already, I'm sorry, the earthquakes that have already happened in Santorini. Minimal, right? We're looking at a impact score of about 2. All right. So that's just something to keep in mind. So, really quick recap of the impact score classification we have on this channel. So again, this the impact score of 1. Level 1 is minimal impact, not a big deal. A storm happens in a specific place, or hurricane that's minor. It can have some minor disruptions, some minor supply chain issues, hurts production just a little bit. um, Level 2 is a moderate impact to that nation's economy, to the GDP, is unemployment, so on and so forth. 3, recession, possibly. 4, level 4, a severe recession, possibly. And a level 5 is depression likely event. Okay, so these are different classifications with the different events that we're going to go over. We're going to classify all of them. And again, Campi Flegrei, 1, Santorini thus far because of the hurricanes. 2, so not that big of impacts. Okay, so really quickly though, we're going to talk about these volcanic eruptions, the possibility of a level 6 or level 7 VEI magnitude and above. A VEI measures the magnitude of volcanic eruptions. Both of these volcanoes has the possibility of having a level 7 VEI, which is pretty big. All right. If it's so in both of these situations, if a VEI of 7 or worse, it is a devastating event, not just for the countries, but also the global economy. And let me say this again, it could be a devastating event if these two places explode. It could create a cataclysmic event, unlike anything in modern history. Seriously, they both have the capability of doing it. Thus far, the government is saying it's a low likelihood, but we don't know because they're not giving us the whole shebang, the spiel shebang. All right, of information. So we have to take what they say with a grain of salt. But let's just think about. Let's have a brainstorm about if a level 7 event were to happen. Which again, if a level 7 event happens to either of these places, a VEI score of level 7, it'd be catastrophic. It'd be depression likely level 5 impact score for both. All right. Anything 6 and below, eruption wise, be all right. It'd be a very devastating event. It'd be a lot of damage that takes place, but something obviously reboundable, something that we can push through. But Campi Flegrei specifically, if a 7 were to inflict this place, so the directly affected areas would be Naples. Again, I'm about to mess up these names. Po- Pozzoli, Campania would be, demolished. It would cause a paraclasmic. It would, destruction would mostly be from a pyroclastic. A pyroclastic is the biggest body of an eruption. The ash, the lava, the debris that spews out of the volcano's throat and spits on everything around it. That's the where most of the destruction is would be centered in within that explosion. But also, you would also have ash fall, right? It'd be a bad situation because ash would be everywhere. Ash contaminates everything: the water, the soil, and obviously it would cause earthquakes because things would still be pushing and pulling. The volcano wouldn't, its eruption wouldn't stop any of that. So first off, it caused millions of people being displaced. They have to go somewhere else. They have to go to neighboring countries, and it will create a lot of turmoil just from people moving around. Hopefully, countries would take them in. I'm sure the surrounding countries would. Infrastructure would also be evaporated. It take a very long time to build. Like I mentioned, it's probably easier to rebuild after a fire, but that magma needs time to cool. Again, ash is spewed everywhere and contaminates a whole bunch of different things. It's going to cause a whole bunch of supply chain disruptions. Specifically, this volcanic debris can get into agriculture issues and create climate instability, food shortages, specifically industries within wine, um, olive oil, and pasta, and livestock. These industries would be affected quite a bit. Economic slowdowns. It would cause airports in Naples, Rome, Milan, ports in Naples, uh, Genio, Gino, however you pronounce it, and basically in the Mediterranean Sea altogether, it will cause devastation. I can't pronounce the last one. I'm not going to even try. I don't want to destroy the name. But like I mentioned earlier, also EU also is under a energy crisis up there. Their main the pipeline from Russia supplied a lot of European energy. As you guys know, there are some issues, some geopolitical tensions, to say the least, with Russia and the surrounding countries, particularly in Europe. So there's already an issue that's centered in that area in the first place. This would not help it at all. All right. In Santorini, again, similar situation, but has the possibility of being a little bit worse. So in Santorini, if a VEI of 7 volcanic eruption happened, it'd be devastating. We're looking off top at a GDP decline of 7%. We're looking at $800 billion of cost recovery. Unemployment could shoot up to 10%. Recovery time, we're saying 12 years, could be longer than that. Most likely it would be. Again, this would be the biggest catastrophe, the most devastating thing that happened to this world in my lifetime. All right, that's saying something. Again, the external cost about $200 billion, aid coming from other places. If a 7V EI were to happen. And again, this would be also a depression likely event. It would be quite devastating. These shakes that have been happening already, pre-quakes happen, right before a big one strikes. A big one has not inflicted Greece yet. So again, we're not, a lot of the scientists are saying, hey, this is most likely, a magma event. This is most likely a push and pull of magma. And that eruption could be disastrous, specifically for the cities, the places that are right along that area. Theresia, Los Nexos, Peros, Mykonos, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, would be destroyed immediately. Again, this volcano is right off the shore, so not only would the volcano eruption itself create a lot of issues just from the flying rock and hot stone that's being thrown across, but also it's in the water. So, there possibility of a tsunami that might hit the, areas around it. Uh, Athens is, excuse me, about 230 kilometers away. Earthquakes, ashfall would, reek over Athens. It'd be a really horrific incident. Again, this is a very tourist centric part of the world. They rely heavily on tourism. Tourism for Europe would be dang near shut down during this time. Again, that tsunami would probably hit Crete, the mainland of Greece, the west coast of Turkey. You would expect that 25% Greece's GDP comes from directly tourism, right? So, Santorini specifically houses 4% of that, like I mentioned. It's already been affected by the earthquakes that would happen. And I have belief that, if a big volcano actually did erupt and hit Santorini, it'd be destroyed. It would be no, yeah, I'm afraid to even imagine or say out loud what I think the level of destruction it would have to the infrastructure. It is an island. Santorini is a beautiful place. They're and very notoriously known for their infrastructure and their, tourists that come to that area. They come just to have the beautiful pictures that they take back after their vacations. It's a beautiful place. It's actually on my list. I haven't been. I'm pretty well traveled, but I haven't been to Santorini. It's a beautiful place. It's a very iconic place from what I hear, and great people. So the um, sulfur dioxide, excuse me, emissions that will cool the Earth probably 1 degree Celsius and may create shorter growth seasons. It would affect a lot of production. It would affect agriculture quite a bit. There are already talks, whispers of supply chain shortages globally, nationwide, and here in America, possibly, and in Europe. This would exacerbate those things. It would funnel supply chains. Let's say a supply chain, a large one was fish that they would send from Santorini to mainland Greece. That supply chain would be completely destroyed. In the Mediterranean, the Aegean be completely demolished. There'd be no fish coming out that area. Anywhere that gets fish in the EU, the prices will go up in those areas for fish specifically or other agriculture goods. It would create a domino effect that could affect a lot of different industries, a lot of different people's lives day to day. And it's something to make sure we keep a keen eye on because it's a very serious situation. If this situation, crescendos to the largest event possible, which in this case would be a VEI of 7. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that this is not the case. So, as a matter of fact, one of the biggest ports is in Greece. One of the biggest ports of Greece is at Piraeus, if I'm saying that correctly. Um, the Piraeus port and the Aegean shipping routes are among the most important. They have a lot of imports coming in from Asia. There be a lot of shipping supply chain disruptions, like I mentioned. Mirix is one of the biggest import exporter companies that come out of that area. So traders, maybe that's an opportunity if this situation does happen. They would be largely affected by this. And again, the ash would devastate the surrounding areas. the olive oil industry, the wine, citrus production, all be industries that will be permanently or for a very long time will be shut down because of this event. Um, Again, fish within the Aegean and the Mediterranean would dang near collapse. Livestock farms, dairy farms would suffer immensely. Global wheat, corn, rice production would be a insignificant hemorrhage. Again, these two countries are very important to the EU, very important to the world, production wise. They produce many things, and if something were to happen, not only would the migration, the people being stretched, pulled from that country into other places, be very disheartening to see. These people would have to uplift their lives. It would cause economic turmoil. I mean, stock market, negative sentiment would definitely take root in the EU. It would cause a big contraction. And not to mention, again, the insurance companies. The insurance companies that are in Europe would be devastated. These insurance companies, if a VEI were to hit of 7 to these two places, would cause immense amount of claims, immense amount of destruction, and a lot of people would be looking around trying to figure out how they're going to recover, and they depend on insurance companies, and the insurance companies that cover these areas would be severely hemorrhaged. And, if they're hemorrhaged, then that would also affect future policies that they would, push out. So, again, very important that we keep an eye on these things. I appreciate you guys for joining me today. Please like, share, get this out there. Again, I know this seems like if you're an American, this is happening on the other side of the world, but these events do affect us. Whether it's a huge event or not, whether if there's a cloud that, envelops the entire globe of ash and it drops our temperature down and it creates these other issues, we're going to be attached to other countries on the other side of the world because, I mean, that's just how things are right now. This is a very globalized world. Our supply chain is very globalized. The way we trade, the way we produce, the way we buy, the way we sell is very much so linked to other places. So, very important to keep account of. And thank you guys for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and have a good week. Bye bye.